Okay, hope you understood the introduction that we did earlier. Now in this equation, we've been told that a circle has the equation x squared. So a circle has the equation x squared plus y squared equals to 4. Find the radius of that circle. Now the first thing is that the circle, the center of the circle is at the center of the coordinate grid at 0, 0. Now to find r, the first thing we need to do, we need to drop down a right angle triangle. So if I just drop down a right angle triangle like that, okay. So that's going to be a right angle triangle. Now to find r, I need to know what x is. In other words, what the length at the bottom here is. Right? So what that length is. If I just make it a bit thick there. Now this length here is going to be called x. Don't confuse it with that x there. That's just a labeling for the x-axis. So this length is going to be x. I can put it here, or I can just put it here. Now let's pretend that the value of x there is 3. So from 0 to 3. Now we also need to find the value of y, this height here. Let's pretend that this height there is going to be something like, say, for example, 4. Now, I can use these 3 and this 4 to help me find what r is. So if I pull that triangle out, right? So this is going to be at level 3, which is going to be 3 centimeters there, and that's going to be 4 centimeters. So what I can do is to find what r is. Okay. Now, to find what r is, I'm going to say that r squared equals to x squared, which is the length that is going horizontal, plus the height, which is the height of this triangle there. Okay. So r squared is going to be equals to x, which is going to be 3 centimeters, plus y. And y is going to be what? Y is going to be 4 centimeters. Okay. So this is how I can find the radius of this. It's going to be 9 plus 16, which is going to be 25. And if I square root, r is going to be equals to 5 centimeters. Okay. So what we can now say is that the radius here is going to be 5 centimeters. Now, if this is 5 centimeters, then it means that even this other r here is going to be 5 centimeters as well. And this other r is going to be 5 centimeters. And this other r is going to be 5 centimeters. Now, it means that if I pick the coordinates here, the coordinates that were here were 3 and 4. And the coordinates that are here could be something like, say, for example, negative. Let's pretend that this is negative 4, for example. Yeah, that's going to be negative 4. And this height here, let's pretend that it's a bit low, so we can say it's maybe 3. Okay, so these are the coordinates. It's going to be negative 4 on the x, and it's going to be 3 on the y. So what I can do, I can use this and use that equation here, this one here, to find what r is. So let's see how that's going to work. So we say that r squared equals to x squared plus y squared. X is going to be the length of the base, and y is going to be the height of this triangle, right? So the triangle now I'm talking about here is this other one here, that is on this other grid here. So if I just make the bottom part thick there, and that's going to be the height of that triangle, and that's going to be the right angle triangle. Okay, so this one now is 4 centimeters, is minus 4. Okay. So we now say that r squared is equals to x squared plus y squared. Now, x is going to be the length of the x-axis. So from here to here is 4. But you can look at it as negative 4 because you're going backwards, and that is fine. Now, let's square that. Now, y is going to be 3 because the height is 3 there. So I'm going to have 3 squared. Now, if I simplify this, remember that if you have negative 4 squared, it's just going to be the same as 4 squared. And of course, you have the 3 squared there. If you simplify this, you get 25. So you can see that r squared is still the same. It's still going to be root 25. So r is going to be 5 centimeters. Okay. So as long as the radius of this circle is the same, as long as the radius is the same, and of course the radius of a circle is the same, and as long as it starts from 0, 0, what we're saying is this, that you can use this formula to find what r is. Okay. So the equation of a circle will always be constant. The equation of a circle will always be constant. Now, it means that if I pick any value here, say for example, I pick another value here, the value of x here and the value of y there will still give me 5 if I use them. Okay, so if I take, say, pretend that the value of x here is, say, for example, 3, and the value of y here is maybe negative 4. Okay, you can see that if I do x squared plus y squared, I'm still ending up in 25, no matter where I am, as long as the radius of that circle is the same. So the coordinates will be the same thing. Now let's think about the coordinate of x and y here at that point. Here, let's pretend because this radius here is 5 centimeters, the radius is 5 centimeters. It means that if I'm starting from level 0 and going all the way up, the value here of y is going to be 5, but the value of x is going to be 0. Okay, so the coordinate at the top here is going to be 0 on the x and 5 on the y. So we're going to have 0 and 5 like that. Okay, if you do x squared, so 0 squared, and you do 5 squared and you add them up, you're going to get the very same thing. The reason is because the radius of this circle is the same. If you take this point at the bottom here, the value of x here is 0, but the value of y there is negative 5. Because radius is 5, so that's going to be negative 5. If I do 0 squared plus minus 5 squared, I'm going to get the very, very same thing. So as long as the radius of the circle is the same and the center is 0, 0, the equation will always be the same. If you square the x and you square the y, you get the very same thing. That's what we're saying here. Okay. So now, let's now go over this question that they've just given us. Let's take this one off and just do this. So just take it off. Okay. Right, so they said a circle has the radius x squared plus y squared equals to 4. Find the radius of the circle. This time right now, they've not given us what the radius is. They want us to find it. The first thing you need to do, think about what the value of x is here and what the value of y is here. You can call them x and y, right? So the value of x, this x here can be anything down here. It can be 5, it can be 3 or anything. So this is the value of x we're talking about here. And the value of y is the value of y here, okay? So as long as you know that coordinate, it will work there. Now, even if I use this other point here, and I use different value of x, so that's x and y. We're using x and y because the values can change depending on where you are. But as long as you use the formula, the answer is going to be 4 for a base. Okay? So we're going to say this, that if I have x squared plus y squared, now remember that gives you r squared if I rearrange. So x squared plus y squared gives me r squared. So all I need to do is to compare this equation with that one there. So if I bring this one down here, I've got x squared plus y squared equals to 4. I can write the 4 as square. So that's 4 is the same as 2 square. Okay? So I can see that this r here is going to be 2. So the radius of this arc is going to be 2 centimeters. Okay? I hope you've understood this. Right, so I'm going to leave the video here again, and then the next time you're going to cut to the next example before you try a couple of questions.